I stood in the lobby of the building that used to be mine. The marble floors still gleamed the way I remembered, but now my brother's name hung above the reception desk in polished steel letters. 6 months ago, this had been my company, my dream, my life's work. "Can I help you, sir?" the receptionist asked, polite but distant, like she was speaking to a stranger, not the man who once signed her paychecks. I almost laughed. I had hired her 2 years ago. Now she did not even recognize me. "I am here to see Daniel Chun," I said quietly. She picked up the phone without breaking eye contact. "Name? Tell him his brother is here." Her expression shifted. Recognition, then discomfort. She had heard the stories. Everyone had. The story everyone whispered. The brother who lost everything because he trusted too much. The fool who signed the papers without reading them. The man who gave his younger brother power of attorney during a medical emergency and came back to find himself erased. "Mr. Chun is in a meeting," she said, her voice softer now, almost pitying. I smiled. "That is fine. I will wait." I sat down in the leather chair by the window. My chair. The one I used to sit in every morning with my coffee, watching the city wake up. I pulled out my phone and opened an email. The subject line read, "Final documents, approved by board." In 72 hours, Daniel would learn what I'd been building in the shadows. But for now, I let him enjoy his stolen throne. I had always been the responsible one. When our parents died in a car accident 10 years ago, I was 25 and Daniel was only 18. I put my college degree to work, started a tech consulting business from our garage, and made sure Daniel finished high school and went to university. I never asked for thanks. Daniel was my only family, and family, I believed, was sacred. The company grew faster than I expected. Within 5 years, we were managing IT infrastructure for major corporations across 3 states. I was good at the technical side, but Daniel had the charm. The smile that made clients feel comfortable. The handshake that sealed deals. So when Daniel graduated with a business degree, it felt natural to bring him on board. I made him VP of Client Relations, gave him a corner office, put his name on the business cards. "We are a team," I told him the day Daniel signed his contract. "You and me, the Chun brothers. Nothing can stop us." Daniel had hugged me. "I would not be here without you, bro. I will never forget that." Those words felt like poison now. The medical emergency had come without warning. A burst appendix that turned septic. I woke up in intensive care, tubes in my arms, unable to think clearly. Daniel was there, papers in hand, concern on his face. "You need to sign these," Daniel had said. "Just temporary, so I can keep the business running while you recover. The clients are worried. We cannot let everything fall apart." I signed. I was barely conscious, drowning in morphine, and I trusted my brother. That was my mistake. When I finally left the hospital 3 weeks later, I discovered Daniel had used the power of attorney to transfer company ownership, drain business accounts, and rewrite contracts. All legal, all binding, all betrayal. The lawyer's office smelled like old books and expensive cologne. I sat across from Richard Brennan, the attorney who had handled our business contracts from the beginning. "Tell me there is something we can do," I said. Richard adjusted his glasses and looked down at the papers spread across his desk. "Marcus, I am sorry. Everything Daniel did, Marcus, was technically legal, cruel, yes, but legal. You gave him power of attorney. He executed corporate restructuring under emergency provisions. The board approved it." "The board that Daniel controls," I said bitterly. "The board that exists because you created it," Richard corrected gently. "You wanted the company to be legitimate. You wanted structure. That structure is now being used against you." I felt my hands curl into fists. "So I just lose everything? 10 years of work?" "You could sue," Richard said, "but litigation could take years and cost more than you have left. Daniel knows this. He is counting on you not fighting back." I stood up and walked to the window. 12 stories below, people moved through their lives, unaware that mine was collapsing. "There is one thing," Richard added. I turned. "Daniel made one mistake. In his rush to consolidate power, he transferred all company assets into a new corporate entity. But he did not close the old one. Not properly. There is a shell company still registered in your name. Worthless on paper, but it has one interesting feature. What feature? I asked. It still holds the original IP filings, the patents, the proprietary code architecture you developed before bringing Daniel on board. Richard leaned back in his chair. Legally, the new company is operating on technology it does not fully own. For the first time in weeks, I felt something other than despair. I felt possibility. That night, I sat alone in my studio apartment. 6 months ago, I had owned a house, had a car worth more than most people's yearly salary, had a future. Now I had 400 square feet and a futon that smelled like the previous tenant's cat. I opened my laptop and stared at the lines of code on the screen. My code, the architecture that powered every system my company sold. I had written it over years of late nights and endless coffee, had refined it, perfected it, and Daniel was selling it like it was his own creation. My phone buzzed. A text from an old college friend, probably another message of pity or awkward encouragement. I ignored it. Who was I now? Not the successful entrepreneur. Not the proud older brother. Just the ghost of the man I used to be. Just another cautionary tale about trust and family and how easily everything could be taken away. I thought about my parents. Wondered what they would think. Would they be disappointed that I let this happen? Or proud that I was trying to fight back? The doubt crept in like cold water. Maybe Richard was wrong. Maybe there was no real path to justice. Maybe Daniel was simply smarter, more ruthless, better suited for the business world. Maybe I was always meant to be the technical guy in the background, not the leader. My phone buzzed again. This time I looked. It was not my college friend. It was an unknown number. The message was simple. I know what Daniel did to you. I can help. Meet me tomorrow. Coffee shop on 5th and Main. 2 p.m. Come alone. Jay. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I replied, How do I know you are real? The response came immediately. Because I used to work for him, came the reply. And he ruined me the same way he ruined you. The woman sitting across from me at the coffee shop was in her 40s, dressed in a business suit, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. My name's Jennifer Walsh, she said. I used to be your CFO, until Daniel decided I was expendable. I remembered her, vaguely. Daniel had hired her without much input from me, said she came highly recommended. Daniel fired you? I asked. Worse. He set me up to take the fall for accounting discrepancies that did not exist. Manufactured evidence that I was embezzling. Destroyed my reputation. She stirred her coffee slowly. I could not find work for 6 months. Lost my house. My husband left me. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because I kept records. Emails. Financial documents. Proof that Daniel systematically planned to take over your company months before your medical emergency. He was just waiting for the right moment. She slid a USB drive across the table. Everything is on here. I picked it up. It felt impossibly light for something that could change everything. Why help me? I asked. Jennifer smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Because Daniel Chun needs to learn that he cannot just destroy people without consequences. And because you were always decent to me, even if you did not notice much outside your code. I went home and spent the next 12 hours going through the files. Jennifer was right. Daniel had been planning this takeover for almost a year. Emails to board members. Financial restructuring proposals. Secret meetings with investors. All of it documented. All of it damning. For the first time since the hospital, I felt like I could breathe. Then my phone rang. It was Richard Brennan. Marcus, we have a problem. Daniel just filed a restraining order against you. He is claiming you have been harassing him and threatening violence. The hearing is in 3 days. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Daniel sat on the other side with his attorney, a woman in an expensive suit who looked like she ate opposing counsel for breakfast. I had Richard, who was good but overworked and operating on a fraction of the budget. Your Honor, Daniel's attorney began, my client has tried to be patient with his brother's erratic behavior, but the situation has escalated. Mr. Marcus Chen has been showing up at the company unannounced, sending threatening messages. My client fears for his safety. That is not true, I said, standing up. The judge looked at me over her glasses. Mr. Chen, your attorney will speak for you. Richard stood quickly. Your Honor, my client has sent no threatening messages. He visited the company once to attempt reconciliation. Daniel's attorney smiled. We have evidence to the contrary. She held up printed screenshots, text messages, emails, all sent from Mr. Marcus Chen's phone number and email address. I felt my blood go cold. I had never sent those messages, but there they were on official printouts with my name attached. Daniel had faked them. Somehow, the judge reviewed the documents. Her expression hardened. Mr. Chen, I am granting a temporary restraining order. You are to stay at least 500 feet away from your brother, the business premises, and all associated employees. Violation will result in arrest. We will revisit this in 30 days. Outside the courthouse, I sat on the steps, numb. Richard sat beside me. He planned this, used your desperation against you. I have nothing left, I said quietly. No money, no credibility. Now I cannot even get near the company. You still have Jennifer's evidence, Richard reminded me. What good is evidence if no one will listen? I went home to my empty apartment and did not leave for 3 days. On the 4th day, I finally opened my laptop again. I ignored the emails, ignored social media. Instead, I went back to the code. My code. I read through every line of the proprietary architecture that powered the company's systems. The algorithms I had spent years developing. The elegant solutions to complex problems. And then I saw it. The thing I had forgotten. A backdoor built into the original code. Not for hacking. For debugging. A way to monitor system performance and identify issues remotely. I had built it years ago when clients were scattered across multiple states and I needed to troubleshoot without flying across the country. Daniel did not know it existed. How could he? He had never written a line of code in his life. I sat back in my chair, thinking. I could not approach Daniel directly. Could not contact employees. Could not set foot on company property. But I could access the systems remotely. Could prove that the company was built on my intellectual property. Could document exactly how Daniel was using my code. More than that, I could see everything. Client data, financial records, communications. If Daniel had done something illegal in running the company, I could find it. I called Jennifer. I need your help again. What do you need? She asked. I need to access the company systems remotely. And I need someone who understands corporate finance to help me find the smoking gun. What kind of smoking gun are we talking about? Daniel took this company by being ruthless and cutting corners. I guarantee he did not stop there. Men like him never do. He is hiding something. We just need to find it. Jennifer was quiet for a moment. Then, when do we start? Tonight. I felt something I had not felt in months. Not quite hope, but close. Purpose. Took 2 weeks, but we found it. Daniel had been inflating company revenues to attract investors. Fake contracts with non-existent clients. Fabricated performance metrics. All designed to make the company look more valuable than it actually was. And he had just secured a major round of venture capital funding based on those false numbers. Securities fraud. Investor fraud. Charges that came with prison time. This is it, Jennifer said, looking at her screen. This is everything we need. I compiled the evidence carefully. Jennifer's original documents showing the planned takeover. The proof of IP ownership. The financial fraud. All of it organized, time-stamped, and backed up in multiple locations. I did not send it to Daniel. I sent it to 3 places simultaneously. The Securities and Exchange Commission, the venture capital firm that had just invested, and the company's board of directors. Then I waited. Daniel called me 6 hours later. The restraining order did not prevent phone calls. What did you do? Daniel's voice was shaking, not with anger, with fear. I told the truth, I said calmly. Something you should try sometime. You do not understand. You're going to destroy the company. Everything we built together. Everything I built, I corrected. You just stole it. The investors are pulling out. The board called an emergency meeting. Marcus, please, we can fix this. We can share the company. 50-50. Like it should have been. I almost laughed. You had your chance to do the right thing. You chose to betray me instead. I am your brother. No, I said quietly. A brother does not do what you did. A brother does not destroy the person who raised him, who sacrificed for him, who trusted him. You are just someone who shares my DNA. I hung up. The next morning, federal investigators showed up at company headquarters. The board meeting happened 3 days later. I was invited to attend. The restraining order had been dismissed after the fraud evidence came to light. I walked into that conference room for the first time in 6 months. Daniel was already there, looking smaller somehow. His expensive suit could not hide the defeat in his eyes. The board chair, a woman named Victoria Chun, no relation, addressed the room. We have reviewed all evidence provided by Mr. Marcus Chun. We have also consulted with federal investigators and our legal team. The findings are conclusive. She turned to Daniel. You orchestrated an illegal takeover, committed securities fraud, and nearly destroyed a legitimate business for personal gain. Effective immediately, you are terminated from all positions. The company is reverting to its original ownership structure, with Marcus Chun as majority shareholder and CEO. Daniel opened his mouth to speak, but Victoria held up her hand. Additionally, you are facing federal charges. The investors you defrauded are pursuing civil action. And the company itself will be seeking damages for the harm you caused to our reputation and operations. I watched my brother's face cycle through emotions. Anger, disbelief. Finally, something that might have been remorse. Marcus, Daniel said quietly. I am sorry. I stood up. I walked over to where Daniel sat. For a moment, I almost felt pity. This was still the kid I had raised, the brother I had loved. But then I remembered the hospital, the betrayal, the months of hell. You are not sorry you did it, I said. You are sorry you got caught. There is a difference. I turned to Victoria. I want him prosecuted to the full extent of the law. No deals. No mercy. 2 hours later, Daniel walked out in handcuffs. The same hands that once held our shared dreams. I watched from my office window, the one with my name on the door again. 6 months later, I stood in the same office, looking out at the same city. But everything felt different now. The company had survived. Barely. I had spent months rebuilding trust with clients, restructuring operations, and cleaning up Daniel's mess. Jennifer was my CFO now, officially. She had earned it. Daniel was serving 3 years in federal prison. The sentence had been reduced because he cooperated with investigators and returned most of the stolen money. Not to me, to the investors he had defrauded. Our relationship was over. Daniel had tried to write letters from prison. I had sent them all back unopened. Maybe someday I would forgive. But not today. Probably not tomorrow either. I had learned hard lessons about trust, about family, about the difference between being kind and being naive. I kept a photo on my desk now, not of Daniel, of our parents. A reminder that the people who truly loved you did not need contracts or lawyers or restraining orders to treat you right. They just did because love doesn't need signatures. The company was smaller now but healthier. I had turned down offers from venture capitalists. I did not need explosive growth or massive valuations. I needed something real, something built on honest work, not fraud and betrayal. On my desk, next to my parents' photo, sat a small plaque Jennifer had given me. It read, "The best revenge is massive success." I smiled every time I saw it, because it was true. I had not just beaten Daniel. I had built something better, something that would last. And that was worth more than any revenge. My phone buzzed. A message from a potential client. A new project. a new beginning. I picked up the phone and got back to work. Thanks for watching, and remember, the truth always finds a way. See you in the next story.